Hey gang, Steve Angeline here. Wanted to do another short training video for you today. So today what we're going to talk about is how can you stand out from the crowd. I just read an article that was published last week in a real estate magazine that states there are now 3 million real estate agents in the United States with an active license. 3 million of us. My brokerage is in Southern Maryland, most parts of Virginia and Washington, D.C., not a huge area. And my brokerage alone has over 6,000 agents. My real estate association in Northern Virginia, an area which is about 120 miles maybe, has over 30,000 agents. How can we stand out from the crowd? Okay. I've been in sales for 40 years. That was a big revelation for me. I started my sales career in 1982. 1982, I became a salesman. So I've been in sales for 40 years. When I got into real estate, I kept telling myself, geez, I got all this sales experience. I have way more experience than most of these people, because selling real estate, you're in sales. And I kept saying to myself, how can I separate myself from the crowd? Because let's be totally honest here, okay? We're all selling the same thing, right? We're going to take pictures. We're going to put a video up. We might do a Manaport, 3D Manaport dollhouse type of thing. We might do a brochure. Hey, yeah, I'm a great guy. Sell, let me sell your house, blah, blah, blah. We're all doing the same thing, okay? How can you separate yourself? Well, what I came up with is I told myself that I had to create something that separated me from the crowd. And for me, I came up with my money line. And let me go over my money line with you, okay? If we find the unrepresented buyer, we will act as a transaction coordinator, not a dual agent, for the buyer, saving you, the seller, the 2.5% buyer commission. Now, I use 2.5 because that's what we have to offer in our area. You can offer whatever your brokerage is telling you to offer, but this is my money line. Now, I get it. Right now, some of you are saying, oh my God, Steve, you're giving up both sides of the transactions. Okay, now, in some areas that you're in, maybe you do get both sides of the transactions often, okay? But in my area, it doesn't happen often. My sister-in-law has been in the business here for 30 years. My brother-in-law has been in the business for 50 years, for 20 years. So combined total, that's 50 years. They've only gotten both sides of the transaction just a handful of times. So for me, this is a money line. It's a sales pitch. It's what I'm offering that the other agents don't offer. And I make sure that I bring with me the copy of the listing agreement that shows it. This is where I'm going to spell it right out. Had a great call from an agent not too long ago. We were both going after this listing, right? And we were going hard after it. I wanted it bad, but I didn't get it, okay? And the sellers told me, hey, we went with, the person that is going to list our house because they actually were a friend. So I felt pretty good. I was in there right to the end. So this agent called me and he says, I got to tell you, you're such an a-hole. I go, I'm an a-hole? You got the listing. Why am I an a-hole? He says, let me tell you, because you use that line that if I find the unrepresented buyer, I'm going to act as a coordinator, blah, blah, blah. And I was forced to put that in the listing agreement. So you're an a-hole. And before I could get the words out explaining it to me, he says, you're such an a-hole, but I'm now going to use that because that is just a freaking amazing line. Gang, it's a sales line. That's all it is. The amount of times that you're going to get both sides of the transaction versus the amount of times that you can use this line. I have used this during a listing presentation, and the seller has said, stop, go over that line with me again. Says, yeah, this is what's going to happen. If I find the buyer who comes to the open house or whatever and isn't represented, I'm going to be the transaction coordinator. I can give them all the paperwork. I can tell them all the public information. I can't negotiate for them. I can't tell them prices. I can't tell them dates, but I can give them all the paperwork and the public information. And the seller said, stop. So if you find the buyer, you're going to save me the 2.5%. And I said, yes, Mr. Smith, I'm going to do that. Why would you do that? And I go, well, we've negotiated my commission, and my commission on this particular house was 2.25%. We've negotiated that, right? We've agreed you're going to give me 2.25% to sell your house. I said, gosh, Mr. Smith, why would you pay me more for doing the job we've already agreed upon? Why am I entitled to that equity that's coming out of your pocket? That's not right. We've agreed. I'm going to sell your house for 2.25%. I'm going to save you that money. And he stopped right there and he says, you got the listing. Go ahead. But I want to see that in writing. And I took out the paperwork. I says, here's where it'll be, right in there. And my broker will sign this. So, gang, this is my money line. Again, okay, if you're in an area where you get both sides of the transaction, don't worry about my money line. Now, if your broker won't let you use this line, you got to find another broker, plain and simple, okay? Because I was with a broker that wouldn't let me use this line, and I went with a broker, and my broker has been a broker for 40 years, okay? He's the dean of all brokers in Virginia, been a broker for 40 years. And he says, oh my God, that's a great line. I wish I would have been using this for 40 years. So you got to stand out from the crowd. We all sell the same product. We all have about the same abilities. We all have, the same photos that we're going to use and all that good stuff. How do you stand out from the crowd? This is how I do it. It's my money line. I hope it helps you. Have a great day. Learn, do, and earn. See you on the next training video. Take care.